Every result has a price. Every goal requires a choice. Comfort keeps you where you are. Discipline takes you where you want to go. Welcome to Discipline Over Comfort with Bob Terrio. Real-world conversations on leadership, business, marketing, and execution.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Discipline Over Comfort podcast. I'm Bob Terrio, and today I'm joined by entrepreneur and business leader Hassan Bash. Hassan and the Bash revenue team help founder-led companies find the real constraint and install the data, the systems, and the leadership rhythm to solve it. Today, we'll be talking about leadership, decision-making, entrepreneurship, and how great leaders make difficult decisions before they have all of the answers. Hassan, thanks so much for being here. Let's jump right into it, shall we?
We shall. And I think as we jump into it, I think the best thing to start with is data. And I think data is really important with education because every podcast is going to start with something that is happening now. But I think this is really important for the audience to listen because this is something from McKinsey that I really wanted to share because of the theme today. And McKinsey just found out that 88% of companies now use AI, which is awesome, right? But only 6% can show it actually move the bottom line.
Wow.
6%.
Why do you think that is?
Well, the same firm found a typical Fortune 500 company wastes over 500,000 days of manager time a year. Now, why is that? Well, it has nothing to do with less information. It has to do with the load of information that we got with AI. And it's not an AI issue. It is not an automation issue. It is not an agentic issue. It has to do everything with one thing. It is a human problem. It's a behavior problem. It has nothing to do with that. It's so funny, like with Claude Cowork, with all the chat GPT, everything out there. With the load of information, it has nothing to do with information. It is still difficult for us to make one decision. About $250 million, slow decisions down. If you put these two numbers together based on what I said in the beginning, you get to see the constraint is never information. AI gives everyone the answers. The constraint is the decision, and that's a human problem. It has nothing to do with AI.
Yeah, information has become a commodity, right? It's there. So let me ask you this. With all your experience in dealing with all of these companies, what's the biggest decision that most leaders avoid that they absolutely should not be avoiding? What are you seeing right now? Because this fluctuates, but there's always fundamentals. So what is it? What's that decision that you just see them avoid?
Every season there's something that comes back and then there's something that goes away. And this season, currently, in my opinion, specifically based on what's happening with my clients, we work with a lot of different clients and I have a board of advisors. It's not just me. It is data. The data, people are not really looking at the data enough. They might spend so much money, but they're doing so much that they're not looking at the data points on a weekly, monthly basis. And the data that, let's say they're doing it, the data that they see, it's not really specific for them to signal. It is a lot of noise. You just need a few data points that is important for your business, that is important for your season in this time. You don't copy everyone. Everyone has a different season. With AI, you could customize based on your own DNA and the business DNA. So we're talking about data points. And also, if we're talking about human behavior, because it's two different problems. One side of the business is data that I see that we're not seeing often and we're not seeing clearly. That's one side of it. And the second point is behavior. Is the behavior not as you as a leader, but also the behavior as a whole team? Is there alignment? Because if there's no alignment, it's harder to make decisions. Imagine you're delegating everything. And if there's no alignment, the delegation becomes very vague.
Yeah. So I'm hearing a couple of things. So they're collecting data, but are they avoid looking at the right data, or they just don't want to see it? They become
avoid it.
They're too overwhelmed, right? They're doing too much, and the actual KPIs or the information they should be looking at, they're not looking at. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, that is correct.
Yeah. So what is that? Is that ego? Is that something else? What is that?
Well,
because sometimes people think they have all the answers. So they go intuitively off their instincts, and sometimes they're collecting data, but for whatever reason, they have an opinion about they've done things always a certain way. It's always been that way. We've always done it this way. Yeah, we're collecting data, but then again, they're not looking at what they should be looking at, going back to your point.
I would definitely confirm that Ego's the Enemy. And that's a great book to read. Ego's the Enemy. It's a great book to read once, depending on how big is your ego. And look, confidence is great. Ego is great. It's important to have ego. So the question is how you show it and how do you actually present it to the world. But also at the same time, it's important for us to understand that the word Kaizen is like basically coming back to humbling yourself. To simplify it in my words, for me specifically, Hassan, is, ego's great, but it's also you have to be willing and able to delete everything that you learned in the same time, because then you're able to be able to communicate, to question, be competent, but also,
Mhm.
you know, be willing to question things.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you have to, right?
Yeah, and even for myself, the more I know, like Bob, we known each other for almost a decade.
Mhm.
I met you when I was in my early 20s.
A young pup, as they say.
And the over the years, dude, the more I knew, the more I didn't know, and the more I had to humble myself. Dude, I work with businesses that are making between 3 million a year to the biggest company that I've worked with is over $60 million a year. And I'm telling you that I had to humble myself, and also working with you have to be okay that you don't know everything. I don't not know everything.
No, no.
That's why I have experts. That's why I have a team, because I know what I know, and I'm
What
getting
lane you should stay in, right? You're self-aware to know you should stay in this lane.
100%.
Yeah. Yeah. Surround yourself with the best people and let them work.
Yes.
So let's talk a little bit about the cost of waiting. Okay. Again, decision making, the lack of making a decision. Again, we say this, you've heard this. Not making a decision is a decision, right? Going back to avoidance, whether that's ego, whether it's thinking you have all the answers. And as you just described, you evolved, right? The older you got, the wiser you got. You're like, I don't have all the answers. So let's talk about the cost of waiting. Have you, in your experience now, have you seen a leader delay a decision that ended up costing the business a lot of money, and then they came back to you and said, yeah, I shouldn't have waited on that?
100%. Many times. Cost
Is
of
there an
indecision.
example you could share with that?
I'm going to use a specific case study that I think that I had faced, which is basically, let's use as simple as demand, getting customers. You have the ability to now generate customers through different avenues, different vehicles, different mechanisms, right? With the world, like, there's social media, there's going to events, there's getting on a podcast, there's so many different avenues. Well, now that you're doing your thing and you're generating customers and you're indecisive to add, when is the right time to add another lane of getting customers? Because it's your growth engine. Your growth engine, let's say, for example, is Facebook ads. Well, what if one day Facebook ads doesn't work? What happens then?
Mhm.
So are you at the back end working and beta testing other ways to generate customers? So the indecision of working on that, when you know that you have this growth engine, it's working, you're working on it, because it's like, when is the right time for me to move into another lane to generate more leads? Because there's a lot of companies that work on Facebook ads until the funnel doesn't work anymore, or the cost per ad, or the acquisition is so expensive that it's
Mhm.
like,
Yeah, oh,
so
yeah.
deciding on when is the right time for you to start testing other avenues to get customers.
Yeah,
And if you
and I
delay
think
that,
people fall into these ruts, they see what's worked, and they think it's always gonna work, and you and I
yes.
both know, coming from marketing and the evolution of everything. I mean, look, we're talking about AI right now. Back when 10 years ago, there was no mention of that, right? At all. So,
Dude, what could have we done if we had that
yeah, I mean, Facebook now pretty much tells you what to do with AI on the back end and Business Ads Manager.
exactly.
It's crazy.
Exactly.
It's crazy.
So
So what
no decision is a decision to keep paying. The constraint compounds daily, whether you name it or not. It depends on how you frame things in your head, really.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
I'll talk more about different formulas to make decisions that has helped me think about it and frame it differently.
Well, tell me, I mean, what framework do you use?
So, do you remember the framework called RICE? RICE. R stands for reach, because if you're listening to this podcast or if you're watching with me, just think of the word RICE and let's break it down. The R
Okay.
stands for reach. The I stands for impact, and then you have C, which is confidence, your own confidence, and then you have divide by effort. So
Okay.
reach times impact times confidence, divide by effort. So what is your reach? Like whatever the project or this project, because we're deciding on what is the right project to work on. You have a project to go, well, do I want to go on this year and do a ton of podcasts, or do I want to go on stage and speak, or maybe do both? So then you actually have that conversation. Do I know how to speak on stage? Do I have the skill set to speak? Well, how confident are you? Well, my confidence from 1 to 10 is like, probably like a 3 out of 10. So then that means I got to learn the skill set to learn it. So it actually goes into your own personal skills and actually the company skills. The reach, well, how much is it going to reach? Well, maybe a few hundred people. What is the impact on it? Well, the impact is great, but it's going to take a long time. What's the effort? So then that's a formula that you could, as you're listening to this conversation, RICE formula, you can put it into your AI, ask it to ask you, and go through the process of RICE. And that's the probably simplest way. So just take the formula RICE, give it to ChatGPT or Claude, and it will guide you through the process.
Interesting. And you use this a lot on all of the projects that you're going to tackle?
Yes, I would say so. It's one of the frameworks that I use.
And I'm assuming you utilize this with your clients.
Yes, of course, 100%.
And what are you seeing? What are you seeing with your clients right now when they're coming to you? What is their big bottleneck in the business? What causes a client to reach out to you?
The constraint is they're growing, but they're working in the business, they're not working on it. And that's what's happening. So they're successful, they're doing well, money is coming to the board, but there's a lot of indecisiveness happening in the journey. Who do they need to hire? What are the areas of responsibility? They don't have no data to actually look at. They might have, but it's not organized in a way for them to actually be able to look at on a weekly basis, because their mind doesn't work on numbers. You have to simplify everything down, not at a Google Sheet way. You got to simplify the numbers where they're able to understand it so that they can make better decisions every single week, either the leaders or the main founder. So look, dude, there's a lot of different constraints that we could focus on. But the constraint that I'm coming in is 2 constraints. It's data and behavior. These are 2 things that I'm focused on, data and behavior. And that's when I'm coming in with my team to do a diagnostic and looking at what exactly is the problem. Because, for example, you could think of a healthcare company, right? Let's say a PT company. Is it a demand issue in the data that we see? It is not so much a demand issue. It is a collection issue. They can get customers and referrals from personal injury attorneys. They could get like all this stuff. This is fine. But the issue hasn't been demand. It's not demand. Sure, demand is one of the main probably problems. It's not the priority in the list. The priority in the list, it is collection. Well, how did we know that? By doing a diagnostic. How long did that diagnostic take? Well, it takes 2 weeks, 30 days, depends on the constraint. Can we find it faster with AI? Sure, 100%. The firm that I have, for us, it's not about more demand for us, for more customers. No, because we are high touch consulting. We don't do that. We come in with my team and I do the data analysis.
And what does that turnaround time look like for you when you guys come into a business?
We have like 3 months, which is basically putting an operating system or getting the data right within the first 30 days. It just depends. So we have 30 days and then we have 3 months. That's where we come in. We give you the main data. We could solve the problem with you, with my team, or we could tell you where the problem is in the data and putting all the operations together. Basically, putting something that is able to work forward, and you will have the framework and you're good to go after 3 months. Or we become a partner of the company and we become a department for them, for data and behavior. So I work with the team and the leader, and then my team works on the operation and the back end.
That's excellent. So let's talk a little bit about patterns, right? You've worked with a lot of entrepreneurs and business leaders, and we've talked about where they're failing, right? Data collection, not making a decision, not knowing what to look at. So with the successful businesses and the leaders, because everybody always has room to improve, but I'm sure you've walked into businesses, you're like, oh, they're doing very well, very well. What patterns do you see most among the successful businesses and the successful leaders? What stands out to you?
It's their competency. And when I say competency, I'm not talking about just their ego. It's not about the ego. It's about the competency of you as a human, as a leader, even though that you don't know much, that you're willing and able to have the competency to figure it out. Kaizen. The word Kaizen is really important in this process because you as a leader need to come back and be able to relearn and be able to humble yourself and be willing.
Humility.
100%. But the one thing is competency. If you're not fully competent to figure it out, that really affects people around you.
So would you call it like a self-aware type of skill that they have? That, again, the humility, like what is it that they're consistently doing well though, besides the humility? Is there something that you see?
They're the driver. I mean, going back to sales, if we talk about sales,
Mhm.
Bob, is understanding the sales process and understanding how to sell. And when you sell, you're not selling from your head, you're selling from your heart, and you really believe in the product that you're selling. There's a lot of great salespeople and marketing people out there, but the product is shit. The product doesn't do it doesn't do the job.
Mm.
It's sexy from the outside, but it doesn't really do the product is shit.
Yeah. It's a Band-Aid usually, right?
Yeah, well, you're a
It
great
doesn't get to
salesperson.
like the core issue of what's going on.
Exactly, exactly. And
Yeah.
and the word Kaizen, it's a Japanese word. Change for the better. That's what it means. We don't really have a word, by the way. Do you know, like, Kaizen? Like, there's no word in English that's similar to it. It's really like, it's like personal development, but there's no specific word. It's
Mm.
the meaning of continuous improvement through small daily steps. The engine behind Toyota, for example. Your line, for example, you don't need the perfect decision. You need 1% decision made daily that compounds. Really,
Correct.
honestly.
Oh, yeah. I'm a firm believer in that.
Yes. So it's like, one step at a time. And yeah, honestly, it's that's one of the main things in my season right now because it just really depends.
Yeah. So, like, if you dropped into a struggling business tomorrow morning, again, what's the first thing that you look at?
Data.
Data, really. That's it.
Yes. I
You
look
ask
at
them
data.
for the data and they can either produce it or not produce it, or they don't know what
Yeah.
they're looking at.
There you go. It's like if you don't have the data, how do you know what's the problem? If you don't know, like, if, for example, if I tell you, hey, can you give me like, this is again, it depends on the ideal client and all the ICP stuff. But if you're not able to know your books for the last 3 years, or you have someone on the team that knows your books very well for the last years, basically, what have you been profiting and what's the revenue, what's the profit, and you don't know really what offer is really working in your business, that's where I come in. I'm looking
Yeah.
at that and making sure that there's alignment. There's alignment. I come for alignment so that we could execute a lot better along the way of us always progressing. Process is progress, and progress is process. Process is progress, and progress is process. The
Mm.
process of you sitting down and finding out what data point is right for you at this season is really important. And when I talk about data points, it's like, really, what do you need to actually signal versus noise? What's signal? What's noise in your own journey? Like, what is signal? What's noise? Everyone has a different signal and a different noise. For you specifically, what numbers and data points are you looking at based on if it's the marketing side, or if it's on the collection side, or if it's on the utilization of employee? How could you say, hey, look, I'm going to hire the next person, but you have not utilized the person on the team? Do you
Mhm.
have that utilization?
You haven't optimized their capacity, right?
Yeah. And it's like, and you don't have the areas of response. Like, there's so much stuff that I could go deep, but data, dude.
Absolutely. So what do you see what's broken? Like when you, again, stepping into that business, that scenario, you look at data, is it because they don't have the right tools? Is it because they're using the wrong software? What is it? What's broken? What's the first thing that stands out where you see, again, going back to patterns, because I'm a big believer in patterns. People tell you who they are, businesses, the leader, you walk into environments and you can see whether they have a good culture, right? People are happy to be in a company, and you can tell where it starts. It's usually at the top. So you could see patterns. So when you look at data, is it like, oh, these guys just don't know how to collect it? They're using the wrong software, besides not knowing what numbers to look at. And what
Mm.
surprises you most? I mean, you're walking into businesses that you're telling me are making up to $60 million. They're doing something right.
Yeah.
But
I mean, the,
I'm always surprised at some of the stuff I see. So
Yeah, dude,
what
me and you are surprised. We talk about it behind the scenes. It's like, you
yeah.
know, these companies, make a shit ton more. Like, we come in and, support the process and help them guide with specific problems.
Mhm.
Like, Bob, like, for yourself, you come into companies and you help them grow. And with what you do, it's like, some companies make a ton of money. And sometimes it's like, you ask the question, it's like, they hire you and we don't make as much money as these bigger companies they hire as consultants coming into the company. And it's like, why? Like, well, because there's specific skill sets that they need, that's why they're finding specific consultants like ourselves coming in to solve the problem. And on their side, they're realizing that they can't do it alone. The
Mhm.
moment you can't do it alone, you realize that you can't do it alone. I can't do it alone. Can you do it
No,
alone?
no, absolutely not. What's that saying? You want to go fast, go alone. You want to go far, go with the team, right?
Exactly. Exactly. 100%, dude.
Yeah, absolutely.
So and other than, of course, the first time we met at that mastermind, 10 years ago, I was like into NLP, neuro linguistic
I
programming.
remember.
And I remember, like, really getting into that world of neurolinguistic programming because I was trying to understand behavior for many different reasons. It's one for my own self, but also trying to understand how to influence, and coming back to what is the like it's so funny that all the stuff from Napoleon Hill to Think and Grow Rich to
Mhm.
the laws of success and all this other stuff
Mhm.
is your competency of believing in yourself. And now, what's the one thing in this whole process? And when people break, they become successful, but they also break. And in the process of you breaking through the journey of life, because life will happen in so many different ways. And the funny part is, are you prepared when that happens? No, you're not. The thing is, what kind of mindset you have, what kind of framing you have, what are the questions are you asking yourself? Are you asking positive questions or negative questions, and you're dwelling down? So it goes back to identity, your own values. And that's why mindset, as the world that we live in, as sometimes, mindset, some people think of it as cheesy. Some people think it's really important. It depends on who I'm talking to, who's listening to this. And they're
Mhm.
not used to having these conversations about what really comes down to your own identity and your own competency and skill sets.
I always say people do not see themselves for who they are sometimes, right? They're telling themselves this story over and over and over subconsciously, right? Going back to mindset. If somebody drops in this conversation and they hear us talking about mindset, they're like, I don't get it. Like, how do I change my mind? How do I see things differently? How do you tell someone this is how you get on a path to changing your mindset? I don't think people talk about that enough. They see mindset. It's like, well, but then it goes back to making that decision. Are you going to decide whether you're going to change your mindset? What would you tell somebody like, how do you change your mind, your mindset? What
Well,
tip would you give them? Where would they start?
it's which is the hardest thing. It's not easy. I wish I could say it's just easy to do it. It might sound easy, but it's really hard to start doing it. There's this phrase of from Bob Proctor that he talks about the knowing and doing gap. The knowing, you know what you need to do, but you don't do it.
Right.
And there's specific questions that you go, back to and process these questions where you're able to know more about yourself and your own behavior because you get to know like what are the things that you need to improve as a leader because there's a lot of things that we're not perfect, so you want to really confront that and stop lying to yourself. We lie to ourselves a lot. It's just a mechanism. I've done over 300 one-on-one coaching sessions that are 3 months. I mean, it's a lot of sessions that I did. It's either comes to unworthiness or either comes to you're not able and willing to look in, so you need someone else to process with you. You don't. The funny part, you don't need that. Like you don't need someone to tell you what to do. You need someone to ask you the questions and guide you through the process to challenge you in a way that pulls out the right information that's already in you, which is the gift that God keeps giving. You're already a gift, and you
That's
have a
right.
gift inside of you. It comes back to questions and asking the right questions that you could process either weekly, either daily, or either yearly. It's a rhythm where you going back to Kaizen, change for the better.
Mhm.
And I don't want to make this into a framework because whoever's listening to this, it's not, guys, it's not so much about the framework. Framework is organized information for you to understand it so that people could sell it. Let's put that on the side. And let me just explain something to you. You can buy a lot of books that talk about this. But the most important thing is like asking the questions that lead you to be a better leader and a better person in your business or outside of your business. And by asking these questions and being real, it will give you so much. There's two things that I always come back to. I was in a brotherhood. And when I say a brotherhood is like men all together and having really deep conversations just about life. And there's two things that we come back to: pray harder and ask better questions. Pray harder and
Mhm.
ask better questions because the season will come. And
Absolutely.
so, based on my experience over the last, I don't know how many years now.
Yeah. That's great. And you brought up like leadership. And I think that when someone thinks of a leader, especially a new leader that's up and coming, and I look back to my early years as a 21-year-old manager, managing 90, 100, 150 people. When I look back, I'm not that guy, right? Because in my head, I thought a leader was hammer, hard, demanding, right? And as I grew, it's like, you can't get people to respond that way. Was I effective? Absolutely. Did people like me? Absolutely not, right? Did we function well? Did we excel? Yeah, but at what cost? And I think that when you say leadership, I think a lot of people don't know what a true, really effective leader looks like because they've worked for people like the early 20 Bob in his 20s, and it takes a long time sometimes to get around someone that you go, "Oh, I want to be like that." That is someone, because you think about who inspires you, who makes you want to do better. And it's not when you have somebody micromanaging, breathing down your throat. Absolutely. It doesn't not work that way, right? Can you look back and say, yeah, I've evolved. I see how I was at one time as a leader and what I'm like now.
100%, dude. Do you know Ray Dalio says this very well, and it comes back to what we're saying. Pain plus reflection is progress.
Mhm.
And it's funny because within that process of me growing and evolving and knowing my past, dude, it's a nonstop Kaizen.
Yeah.
I I can talk about data. I could tell you about the operations, and you could figure this out through books. You could figure this out through podcasts. You could figure this out through whatever that is. But it comes back to your own competency, your own personal development as a leader, because I have to change the skill sets that I have to have today with AI. I have to be a better communicator. I have to be a lot more competent in the way I say things
Mm.
through storytelling, through sharing examples. What does that mean? It means that I got to get better at the way I communicate. My vocabulary, it's very different now. And if you want to lead a team for alignment, imagine you had a team of 30 people in your company. Let's say that's a number of people on your team, and you want the team to be aligned. How are you going to do it? By giving them a bonus? Is it by giving them more money? That works for a little bit until
Mhm.
you realize that having people aligned together and going back to Kaizen and sharing the vision together. So personal development first, then sharing the vision and coming together in a way that the company becomes aligned. Now there's companies that have less people because of AI. Even your own AI, this is because everyone is interested in AI. Everyone, right? So let's just
Mhm.
talk about these two things. Even your own AI. If you don't work on your own DNA, the context in your brain, and when I talk about brain in AI, in the AI world, depending on your audience, your information, your context about your own DNA, your personal psychology, your psyche, good, bad, whatever that is, and your business, if that is not breaking down into your own AI, how do you think your output is going to be giving you by creating agentic work, agents, AI employees?
Yeah.
So designing your own Kaizen DNA within your AI world, still, it's the same shit, dude. It comes back together.
Yeah. It goes back to your mission, vision, and values, right? And
Mhm.
and making sure that that's where the alignment is with your team, your people, your customers. Then only can the AI help you spread that information out.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's how I look at it.
Yes.
Right now, AI, we're talking about it. This is not an AI podcast, but it is one of the biggest opportunities in our lifetime and in business today,
Mhm.
no doubt, right?
Mhm.
So I'm not afraid of it. I know that there's a lot of people you've kind of alluded to. People are losing their jobs, and every industry is going to be affected by it. But at the same time, putting that human element into it will not be ever be replaced. And I think people are going to crave the organic part of it, right? Coming in, having the mission, vision, and values that you can implement into your business. But what do you think is the biggest misconception about AI right now? I know for me, I think, again, all jobs are going to be replaced. I think that's a huge misconception. What do you think?
I think that there's going to still be jobs in specific areas, but a lot of the stuff that's happening now, it will be, I mean, some of the things will completely be automated. You are in the States and I'm in Saudi Arabia currently
Mhm.
doing this podcast. And in the next 2 years, there is so much that is going to unfold. And even with the information that we don't know what's going to happen, but there is predictions that are happening that a lot of things could be automated. Although you still need people in specific positions, there will be a need for people in specific departments. The only difference is, are you leveraging it and understanding how to create enough context and skill? There's two things that are very important in AI: the context and the skill that you're creating with either your skills or other skills that you're putting into your world of AI.
And I think that that's where I don't think leadership will ever be able to be replaced. You're going to need leaders in those departments, in your companies, pushing it forward, even with all the AI tools.
Yes,
Yeah.
100%. Yeah. Bob,
But
I
it
wanted to
definitely
ask
can
you
help
a
you make
quick.
good decisions. It can help you make the good decisions, right?
Yes.
Currently now, it can help you.
100% by using the framework RICE.
There you go.
Bob, what was your decision that changed everything for you in your journey?
The decision for me.
Yeah,
So
that
there's a
changed it.
couple, right? So
Okay.
there's a couple. So you want to talk about professionally or do you want to talk personally? So I'll touch a little bit on both.
I'm gonna share this with you. When I ask you the question, I want you to go with whatever comes up now and whatever you
Right.
want to share this moment.
Yeah. So for me, the biggest decision that I've made right now, currently in the last, let's say 4 or 5 years, was to focus on my physical health. So my well-being, my mental health has always been really good. I've always had a good, head on my shoulders, always been very practical, very ambitious. But it wasn't until my son got older that I was able to go, you know what? I'm going to focus on me. And again, my health, working out, going to the gym, watching everything I eat. It has been the biggest game changer for me. I can't explain what it's done to my brain, my mind, not only physically, but the way I think. My clarity is just I thought I had clarity before, not like now. Right now it's through the roof. Again, going back to discipline, hard work, I never thought that I could get in the shape that I'm in at this age ever. And I'm still not done. So I challenge myself every day. I challenge myself. I made it a priority. It's an appointment I keep with myself, and it keeps me just moving. I mean, I can go 13, 14, 15 hours working like nothing. As long as I can get to the gym, which fuels me, I'm good. But for me, at a later stage in life to actually focus on it, it's been pretty amazing.
Health, and I have seen the journey. I've known you, and I see the transformation. And congratulations on making that big decision, because I
Yeah.
see it.
Yeah. And it was a decision because, again, going back to we know what to do, right? You tell people like eat healthy, sleep, drink your water, take your supplements, work out 5 days a week. We know what to do. People pitching all these things
Offer.
online and, trying to, sell you the next diet, the next Ozempic shot, whatever it is, they work. Okay. They work. But ultimately, you still have to do the work on the back end.
100%. No, 100%, dude. Agreed on. And Anna, what made the decision for you? Was it your kid growing up, or was it like what was that moment? Was it a question? Was it something that you saw?
I mean, I'll tell you the story. It was pretty funny. I mean, I got tired of feeling the way I was feeling. So mentally, I was good, but I just didn't feel well. And I remember
Mm,
going to the doctor. During the COVID, I had lost like 30 pounds. I was like riding a bike, an indoor bike, 10 miles a day. Lost like 30 pounds, wasn't really honed in, and I wasn't dialed in on the diet, but I was still losing weight. And I went to the doctor in October, and, they weigh you in, they do your blood work, and went back in January for a follow-up. And I looked at the chart and I was like, I gained some weight. And I told the doctor, did I gain some weight? And she's like, yeah, you gained 13 pounds over the holidays, but don't worry about it. It's just holiday weight. And I thought, I'm not going to do this again. Like, I can't do this up and down. I walked out of that. I remember going to the park and just started walking. I'm like, I am not, because I had lost that 30 pounds. I gained back 13 of it. And I was just tired of that was it. It wasn't, again, I was putting band-aids on. I was like, oh, if I ride the bike, I'm going to do this. It was a bunch of band-aids. It wasn't the whole holistic, like, no, you've got to eat right. You've got to fast. You've got to eat protein. You have to prioritize protein. You have to exercise. You have to do strength training. You have to do a little bit of cardio. It's everything. It's not one thing. It's everything. And once I knew that, made the decision, no, I'm going to do it all. I'm going to stop putting band-aids on this roller coaster of, losing some weight, gaining it back, losing some weight. I just got tired of it.
mm.
I was fed up of doing that to myself,
Were you
breaking
going?
promises to myself.
Were you going away from pain or towards? Were you going more towards pain or more towards pleasure?
I was going away from pain, the pain of
Mm,
feeling crappy.
mm.
Yeah. And that is more powerful than pleasure.
See,
Moving someone away from pain is more powerful than moving to pleasure, right?
yes, yes,
I see that in going back to business. And if the pain's bad enough, I remember talking to a friend and he had asked me something. And I said, well, you're not making the decision because you're not in enough pain yet.
yeah.
When you get in enough pain, you will make that change. Now, we're doing this because for businesses, we don't want you to wait to to where you're like, my business is getting ready to go bankrupt. That's not what we want, right?
See, I
You want to start
definitely
making
agree.
the changes now.
Yeah, and it's by going through the questions. The questions are out there, dude.
So let's talk about leadership. What's one leadership lesson that you wish you would have learned earlier in your career? And I'll tell you, for me, like going back to the young leader, I was hard on people. And so my lesson was, oh, doesn't work. This is not a long-term strategy.
Yeah.
That was my lesson.
The ability to let go when you fail and you start to analyze all of it. It's great for data points and for you to learn, but also it's important for you to also let go. And how quick can you let go of things? So to move on to the next, because right, wrong, one day you will die. So let go and move on. Be grateful for the experiences, for the lessons that you have learned, because we call it an NLP called Gestalt. It's a lot of the baggage that you have, and it's just to let it go. You learned so much from that, and now you're able to make better decisions, no matter what age you are, what season you are. Because rather than being in the pittiness and the dwelling.
You say that, good advice, right? Again, somebody listening might say, well, yeah, but how do you let go? Because people get old and they're still holding on to grudges, resentment, regrets. You learned that early in life, but unfortunately, most people do not. And the people that you see that become bitter later in life, it's because they were never able to let go. What advice would you give somebody? How do they start to let go? Because it sounds good and you are right, but a lot of people don't know how to do it. Or they can't, they're incapable.
Well, first of all, I'm going to give a resource. There's a book called Letting Go by David Hawkins. It's a great book to read, and it gives you a lot of different ways of letting go. That's a resource. So a lot of the information of how to let go, I'm going to leave it to an expert to explain it to you. It is a heavy book, but it's a great book to read and reread. There are things that you will never forget. There are things that will be very painful. But sometimes pain will help you change, but sometimes pain will stick forever. And the only way for you to let go is, for me, is the questions you ask when you wake up and when you go to sleep. It's
Do you have a
question.
set of questions that you ask yourself, or do your questions change daily?
Well, it changed seasons depending on where I'm at. I customize the question based on the season that I'm in and what I need to focus more on, and asking powerful questions that would lead to discovery, that would lead to better ideas, rather than going in a dwelling emotion. Do you know, Bob, all of us in this process of life journey, one of the things that we're aiming for is to feel a result. The result is a feeling, like having more money. What does that feel?
Feels good for a little while, but then you realize it doesn't solve all your problems.
Okay, great. Awesome. All the feelings that it's a result of a feeling. So we're aiming of a result of a feeling. So if we're able to influence our psychology by asking questions so that we can feel a certain way, wouldn't us live this life a lot better through grace, love, and joy?
Yeah.
So, we're all fighting the fight. There's a lot of the demons sometimes within us. So that's why I asked the questions, to lead to more grace, love, and joy, so that we could move on and figure it out along the way and take it one step at a time by asking better questions and praying harder.
So can you give me just like one question that you ask yourself right now in this season? What's a question that you ask yourself?
I'm going to give a way of asking the question that would support the journey. And it's one of the words is the word could. What could you do about it? What could you do about it? And that word could is used in different processes and different ways, even the coach in the world coaching, because what could you do about it opens discovery. And you can ask that question multiple times. What could you do about it? And if someone says in response, I have done everything. Have you? Really? Well, okay, what are the things they have done? Think about it. And most of the time, people say like 3, 5 things.
Right. And how many times did you try it? Once?
Exactly. But I think questions could lead to better decision making. Questions could lead to better partnerships. Questions could lead to better way of being, and the way you ask the questions. Because what is coaching? Coaching is the process of actually asking questions in a way that would lead to discovery, where you find the genius with the other person, so that they're able to process it and have an aha moment so that they can take it and move on. So we're empowering people by asking questions that lead to discovery. And that's leadership.
Asking them questions to give them a new perspective on the situation.
Yes.
Yeah, that's great. So if a young entrepreneur watching this was to get a hold of you, what's one piece of advice that you would give them before they started a business? What should they do?
There's one thing that I think is one of the most important things. I do love this because it brings the person back to their own self rather than looking at other people. And there's this process called the ikigai, 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 Japanese, reason for being, basically. It's a set of questions that leads to your ikigai, which is basically your purpose. And it sets of, based on the season that we're in with AI, the season of business, the season of what you love doing, your hobbies, you want to be an influencer, you want to be a speaker, you want to do this business, you want to buy businesses and sell businesses, you want to be an executive at this company, you want to be a great AI developer, whatever you want to be, whatever that is for you. The ikigai process is for anyone to come back to. Either you're in college, either you're a teenager, either you're someone that's changing careers. It's a great set of questions, and there's a great book. And again, you could throw the ikigai framework into AI and let it ask you questions. Say, hey, can you be my ikigai guide? Can you be my ikigai guide and ask me the question and the process about purpose and about what the market needs? That's number one. Go through that process so that your foundation is, to a certain degree, good enough. And remember that good enough, not perfect. Don't wait till perfection. Then second point is find a model that you're able to see how they've done it. If you could knock on their door, knock on their door. If you could call them, call them. If you could pay them, because it could save you a shit ton of time.
Mm-hmm.
A shit ton of time. And I did that since I met you.
And it's paid off. Somebody listening could say, this is really corny. But let me tell you, getting in a room and making the relationships that we're able to make. I mean, I don't know how much money you've spent on masterminds. I know what I've spent. And it's right. And some of them were okay. But for the most part, if you can build a relationship, we've talked about this.
Yeah.
One relationship out of one of those things is worth its weight. I mean, here we
Yeah.
are 10 years later, Hassan.
10 years later.
And I get to see you grow into this awesome business leader, entrepreneur. You know, the things that you've done is just incredible. And you're fairly young. You're still a young pup to me.
Yeah, man. It is the process. Is the process of trusting the process and having faith along your way. And one of the things is relationships. I mean, relationships is really important. So build the relationships. So going back to what would I say to that person, I would say go through the process of the ikigai. Then if you're into business, this is probably one of the best advices that I wish I did. I wish I did this when I was that age. There's a book called The Mom Test. It's a great book. It's a 4-hour read. And the Mom Test is basically giving you the psychology in the process of how to go to, if you want to start a business, if you're in that world of entrepreneurship and you want to start an AI company, whatever that is for you, there's nothing better than sitting, don't sit by yourself. Start to have conversations with people and interview them. And the Mom Test can give you the questions in the process to ask leaders in a way to find out what is the problem in the market and what do they need. And that could give you a quick way of knowing what is your offer, who is your ICP, and how do you actually sell to them, and where do you find them. It could do all that for you. And yeah, so the ikigai, the Mom Test, and then what else? It's a process of a journey. That's what I.
Absolutely.
And have a network, have a model, be in a part of a community. Don't be alone. Find people.
Listen to the Discipline Over Comfort podcast.
There you go.
This quality of guest of Hassan, you don't get this everywhere. And I'm being sincere. Like, his time is very valuable. So I really appreciate it.
Absolutely, dude.
This round, I'm going to give you some words, and I want you to give me a quick answer.
Go
you
for
okay with that?
Yes, let's do it.
Okay. So leadership is
valuable.
Success,
understanding.
Failure taught you
to grow.
Best business book ever.
Man.
Just one.
I know it. Is to understand yourself, is to understand your own patterns, is to understand what works for you and what doesn't. Understand how you work, what you need to do, and understand how to condition yourself to become a better person. Your book, your own fucking book. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of great books you could learn. Go, you can find them. But no, it's the best thing is I could tell you, understand your behavior, understand your patterns, learn, know what works for you. Go get coached from a lot of different people. There's a lot of different modalities. Go learn that, your own book, what is your own DNA, your own psychology, what you need to tweak and learn.
What's your favorite AI tool right now? Just one.
Yeah, just one. And I'm gonna say this: my one now in this season, of course, is gonna be Claude Cowork or Claude. Other than, of course, there's a lot of other tools out there, but Claude Cowork is great. And then in this season, right now, although there's no such thing as one system, everyone is gonna sell you as one system,
Yep.
but there's no one system.
Biggest mistake entrepreneurs make.
They underestimate how much work it takes to actually go and get results. And you gotta go and communicate your offer. You got to ask for the referral. You got to go network and build relationships. They understand how much work and how much behavior output, the mechanism, your behavior, the outputs that you need to do, and how much it takes for you to get this thing that you want. And make sure that you work on it and work on your skill sets. Keep at it and be willing and able to go back to Kaizen.
One daily habit that you never skip.
I mean, I've been working out since who knows when, for a long time. Motion and movement is really, really important for me because you need to move your body and then, get your psychology right.
Morning or night? Are you a morning person, night person? When do you function best?
Well, there's seasons. And in this season, I would say it's been very interesting evenings in this season. Yeah.
Coffee or tea?
Coffee that is not acidic.
So I'm going to ask you one final question. I know you're busy today. I know you have some stuff coming up after this, but if people remember only one thing from today's conversation, what would you hope it would be?
It'd be keep asking questions and pray harder because you'll be in seasons that are tough. There'll be seasons that will be light. There'll be seasons of success. And whatever season you're in right now, have faith. Have faith. Keep praying and pray harder and ask questions that are empowering to you to lead up. And I would let that be for the moment. And this is what's coming up for me right now based on this conversation. Because there's nothing better than having the process of asking questions because questions will lead to a lot of things, to a better business, to a better partner, to a better health lifestyle, to a way of being, to a way of your attitude. How is your attitude? Like, really, how is your attitude? Because if you're in a depressed situation, ask questions, move your body. It's really simple, but I think the skill set of asking questions, it is a skill set. It is a skill set. And you have it's a conditioning. It's a behavior. Maybe you're not used to it. So condition one good question in the morning and one good question in the evening. And if it's going to be based on what value will I bring today? And in the evening is what value have I given? It's a great conditioning. There are different ways of change, but there's two ways of change. One, it's either going to be way of something really an accident, a life event happening, and that's one way of changing, or it's through repetition on a subconscious level. Because remember, your subconscious is there and is automatic of things that you've been doing for years. And if you don't have someone that's a practitioner, there's a lot of different modalities in the world of personal development. And Bob, as I known more, there's a lot of different ways of working on your subconscious mind. And questions are good.
Yeah, very well said. Very well. Hassan,
Yep.
Thank you for being here. I appreciate your time. I appreciate your friendship and your willingness to share all your experiences. I know our listeners are going to take away some valuable leadership lessons from today's conversation. And thanks for everyone for listening and watching on YouTube. If you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe to the Discipline Over Comfort podcast on YouTube, Spotify, Apple. You can also subscribe to the Discipline Over Comfort weekly brief. It's delivered every Tuesday morning with practical leadership, business and marketing, and AI insights. You can visit us online. I'm going to link all of Hassan's social media and his company information in the show notes. And please feel to reach out to him anytime. Until next time, stay disciplined. Thank you.
If we have enough people, I'm happy to jump on a call and just process some calls because I wish I had someone like myself back in the day to just ask questions.
So go ahead and comment, you guys. Reach out. Remember, stay disciplined, stay uncomfortable, and keep moving forward because discipline will always be greater than comfort. I'm Bob Terrio, and thanks for listening.